right, Chef Smith, March 20th, 2026. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, David Lee Scales. Happy first day of spring to you.
Excited. New season, spring cleaning, new lease on life. I'm here for it.
It's a great day. So did you know the spring equinox, not only is it the first day of spring, it's also the longest day of the year?
Yes, that does make sense to me now.
But isn't it weird that the longest day of the year?
Great news.
Ooh, man, is this not working again?
Go ahead.
Doesn't it feel weird that the
go
longest...
ahead about the longest day of the year?
Oh, man. Longest day of the year is in March. Doesn't that feel weird? Doesn't it feel like it should be in summer?
No. I don't know. It doesn't feel weird to me at all.
But when I'm thinking about like long summer nights, right? I'm not thinking March 20th. I'm thinking, the sun setting super late in July 30th.
I know. You're thinking wrong. You're just confused.
I mean, it's can you believe it? But wait, let's get back to the most exciting
about
news.
So much.
It's true.
Okay. The most exciting news. Okay, let me pull it up. We did it. We reached peak influence. So remember when we barrel or nod, bringing a parrot to a political rally.
How could I forget? It's the best thing anyone could do.
It was barrel. It was during Black Lives Matter, I feel, around that time. Lots of political rallies happening. People are screaming. Everybody's annoyed by everybody screaming. They're not really listening to anybody else's point. But when you walk in with a parrot, all of a sudden it draws attention. And more importantly, people actually listen to the parrot. They want to hear what the parrot is going to say. So we determined that it was barrel. Even more more effective than throwing a sandwich at an ICE agent, even.
For sure.
So,
I mean, that's second place, I think. Throwing a sandwich at an ICE agent is second most effective, but you are right. Parrot trumps.
Parrot trumps. Well, look who we have influenced to carry a parrot with them wherever they go. Here we go. Pulling it up. It's a little hard to see, but can you see on his left shoulder?
I sure can. For those who are not visually aboard here, we have one Tom Curren with a parrot on his shoulder.
How incredible is that?
I mean, it's funny that Tom Curren has reached such a state where everything he does is at the same time 100% surprising and 100% not surprising.
We've talked about it before. It's complete. We should expect, the craziest stuff from him, and he somehow out crazies our expectation.
And or like settles it down, but because do you think Tom Curren? Let's unpack this here. Do you think Tom Curren is a parrot guy?
I think he's become a parrot guy.
Or is this a hotel lobby? Do you know, like when you stay at one of those hotels in Maui or whatever, and they'll have the parrots in the lobby and do like a parrot show, and then you can pose for like, it's also some of those hotels, those Maui hotels in particular, lobbies are weird places where it's like a lawless land of rip-off artists are allowed in there somehow. Like they'll throw the parrot on your shoulder and then just take a quick picture and then say, yep, $50, pay up.
So it's not the hotel running it, it's just a ripoff artist?
I mean, that's how I recall the situation in the Ka'anapali, wherever it was, the Ka'anapali Suites or something like that. It felt like it was a scam scene. Like you had to really watch yourself through the lobby that you didn't get ripped off.
Well, the truth is, the scam artists are probably charging less than the hotel would itself. The hotel is the biggest ripoff of all.
That's true. But anyway, so this is not, you don't think this is Tom getting caught with a parrot on his shoulder for a photo op. You think Tom brought his parrot to wherever this is.
So I happened, with the email and the photo came the location. So it never even dawned on me that it was anywhere else. Okay. And this was at one of the board riders events in Santa Cruz.
So there's no reason a parrot would be there otherwise than Tom Curren brought his parrot?
So there's an very small chance and possibility that a random parrot flew out of the sky, landed on his shoulder. He let it stay perched on his shoulder and walked around the venue with it.
Wait, let's just, honey babe, while you're here,
Yeah.
here,
Come on camera.
you need to come look at this. So here we have Tom Curren. Tom Curren has a pet parrot, likely.
Oh.
Does that surprise you, or is that par
No,
for the course?
that does not surprise me. I'm sure they have full-blown conversation.
Okay, yeah. So it is Tom Curren being Tom. But real quick here. So the parrot did not. The only other thing I would wonder is if somebody at the board riders did have a parrot, if there was a parrot person there, and Tom was like, "That's cool," but Tom looks too comfortable with this parrot on his shoulder. Like there's always if you're not a parrot person and somebody plops a parrot on your shoulder, you have like this awkward look, right?
Yeah. So
Tom
the
looks totally
word on the
natural.
street was totally natural. The word on the street was he was walking around with a parrot on his shoulder, like it was his parrot. But there's another. I think they're based on past information that we've received about him dyeing his hair the same color as his wife's. The reason behind that could be the reason behind this. It could be his wife's parrot or his wife wanting him to have a parrot.
Well, then it's a good thing I brought my wife onto screen, because this would lend itself to a theory that what if Tom Curren is not that interesting? What if his wife is the magic one in the relationship?
That doesn't really make. I like that she is interesting and she is magic, but Tom had all of his mojo long before she entered the scene. Like he became Tom Curren first, and then they partnered up.
Oh, so yeah. So Tom, but it was like-minded meet like-minded. Like where in this case, opposites likely did not attract, same's attracted, which would be par for the course for Tom Curren too, to buck the trend of opposites attract.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're going to keep tabs on this one more as the story develops, as you like to say, but we will track his location as he moves about the globe and see if the parrot goes with him.
Real quick about you're not a parrot person, or your wife Lauren loves animals. Has she ever suggested bringing a bird into the relationship?
She doesn't seem to care that much about birds. I think she has her limits.
Dodging bullets there, I think, for you. Nothing against birds, but birds are the one. I don't feel bad about, obviously, dogs are domesticated. Lizards are lizards, right? They don't know that they're in a glass aquarium, I'm sure. If they do, they're probably like, at least I'm not getting picked up and eaten by a bird. But the whole point of a bird is to fly. And so keeping a bird in a cage is always, it hurts my heart, even though I'm not a PETA lover.
Yeah, you got to let that think. I mean, that's why maybe the parrot's the ultimate bird option, because you could take it outside, it can fly away, it comes back, it knows its boundaries.
Have we talked about the feral parrots of like South Pasadena, for example? I know other communities have them.
You alerted me to them. I had never heard of them prior.
Okay, yeah. And you've never seen in the wild yourself?
No, I didn't see it in the wild, but I think when we talked about it, I Googled it and saw imagery.
Yeah, pretty impressive. But Tom's parrot obviously doesn't want to go join that flock of wild parrots. Tom's parrot's got to be entertained beyond every single day of its life.
Absolutely. I would love to know the lexicon of the parrot, actually.
Oh man, I wonder what does Tom teach his parrot to say? We would have no guess at all.
I have no idea. Like I said, more as the story develops. We're going to try to follow
good.
this one.
This is an exciting one to keep abreast.
Well, again, I would like to take credit that our show influenced him. Like he was listening to that episode, and he's like, you know what? That is a solid idea, and that planted the seed.
I mean, I can only hope. I only hope if I've had any influence on anyone in this entire world, it would be Tom. Like my choice would be Tom Curren.
We can all hope. Well, moving on, but, actually, I tried to find the episode where we had that barrel or gnaw. So I went through the archives. I never ended up finding which episode it was. But as I was scrolling through, we have covered some very diverse grounds over the years.
In the barrels or NAS, or just across the board?
Yes, both across the board, but definitely in the barrels or NAS. We've covered, I mean, for a surf podcast, we cover it all.
I'm pretty proud of us.
Pretty proud. And last week was no different. I got an email from somebody saying, in episode 363, we go from pros in the wild to pervs in the washroom. Which may have been our most abrupt pivot ever, but it seemed to make sense at the time.
I mean, it still does kind of. What is a pro surfer, if not slightly removed from a perv? And what is the ocean, if not, depending on where you're surfing, not a click away from a bathroom stall?
Yeah, surfing in certain parts of Southern California is like surfing in a bathroom, basically.
Especially now. I mean, I think there's been high bacteria warning level in all of LA adjacent for the last, like months now.
Yep, there you go. It's what it's like to live in a metropolis and surf right next to it. But again, it's not all gold. Like the Parrot stuff is gold. We are like, much like the 49ers back in the 1800s, we find gold occasionally. You feel filthy after you go searching for it. But occasionally you do find a nugget and it may make it all worthwhile.
Makes a lot of sense because we would be like the 49ers too. We're not prospectors, you and I. We didn't like buy a mine and then get lucky and get a big old vein of gold. No. We're out there in the dirts, in the streams all day, every day. And every once in a while we find like a little gold nubbin.
Little gold nubbin gets spent at the bar immediately thereafter. You feel filthy after listening. You need a shower. Well, hey, in surf news this week, we got qualifiers for the upcoming CT, and our first ever Israeli surfers joining the tour in Anat Leilor, female surfer from Tel Aviv.
Are you going to be cheering when she gets cut mid-season? Oh, wait, they don't do the mid-season cut anymore.
There's no mid-season cut, but no, I am actually cheering for her because I feel a real underdog story here.
I like it, except for, let's be honest, let's be quite frank. The last quote-unquote underdog surfer that made any mark, I'm going to say is Idolo Ferreira. And he was a rare bird, right?
I can't do the calculus quick enough to say that he was the last underdog. I feel like there's been other underdogs. I mean, the Morgan Siblick story, it was like the COVID year, the year after COVID, where he finished top 5, was taking out John Florence throughout the season multiple times. I think that was a great story.
But it was also a flash in the pan, right? I mean, Morgan is a great surfer, and he's back on tour this year, is he not?
Yes, he is.
Great surfer, back on tour this year. But that was a outlier, that competitive burst for him, right? He had not proven himself to be competitively that savvy since.
No, correct.
Yeah, so nothing against his surfing. Everybody, love Morgan's surfing very, very much. But just in terms of putting together both the competitive stuff and the good surfing stuff, he did it that for like half a season.
So what about Italo? What's the point on Italo, though?
I just feel that Italo sort of came out of nowhere, if I recall, in my surf journalism days of yore, that Italo came up and at least I thought it was funny just because his name looked like Italian Ferrari, right? I was like, Italian Ferrari, huh? Right. And he just seemed like some random Brazilian with a funny name. What was like Jihad Yoder? Was it Yoder?
Coder,
Jihad Coder, right? I loved me some Jihad back in the day, and just because his name was Jihad. And I also loved Italo purely because his name was Italian Ferrari. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, he's actually good. But I don't think people knew he was good right away. I think people thought he was another one of these Brazilians who would cycle in and out, but had an interesting name.
Yeah, he we did not know he was good. He did not know he was that good back in the day. He learned how to surf big barreling waves while he was on tour.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but I don't hold out the same hope for what's the Israeli surfer's name again?
Anat Leilor.
Anat. I don't have the same. I don't hold out the same hope for Anat because I think that we're just not going to see that again. I don't think Anat, is just going to drop out of the sky at the box for the first time ever.
So you actually identified a lot of comparisons here that I think are accurate. She is definitely an underdog. She's not expected to do well. She does not have the experience of traveling around the world surfing the best waves. She comes from a very mediocre beach break, actually. And she has, her kind of country, she's being ridiculed and stereotyped and vilified unjustly, or certainly associated with her nation and race more than her as an individual. And so those are all the makings for an underdog story.
It's true. I mean, I'm cheering for her. Don't get me wrong here. I would love for her to go out and be a little spark. And I'm going to hope for. I'm not going to even crap talk it anymore. I'm just going to say, go Lindor.
I am up for it too. I've seen her surf enough to think that I don't think she has the same talent that Italo had. But again, he figured a lot of it out while he was on tour. And so she has the opportunity to do the same.
Well, it's a feel-good story and or a feel-bad story, depending on what side of the fence you're on, no doubt.
So Stab Magazine did an article. It was kind of about when QS surfers should give up their hopes and stop chasing qualification. And they did an interview with Caio Ibelli, who obviously spent time on tour, but he had a couple of quotes through it that I thought were worth discussing. Basically, what the quotes are saying is that the WSL at the CT level actually makes the top level talent worse because of the lack of frequency that they're surfing good waves and the amount of time that they're sitting, 2 weeks at Bells to surf 3 days, essentially. Whereas John Florence can be sailing the ocean to perfect surf and surfing it for an extended period of time.
Makes sense. I mean, again, I suppose the infrastructure of live broadcast and all that is a separate issue. But in this day and age, when we have things called forecasts, and we also have things called airplanes, and surfers are very used to arriving somewhere within 24 hours notice, right? And I understand. They have to permit and blah, 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 blah. But it's funny that there just hasn't been a way to figure out how to guarantee good waves every contest at this point.
No, I mean, it's all related to tour bloat. It's all related to tour bloat. Too many people on tour, too many people that are working within the WSL that are traveling to the locations. So that is the challenge, because you're right. Free surfers can jump on a plane and show up at Fiji tomorrow to catch the swell, So that
good point
is the
about
issue.
Surfers getting worse. What was his other point?
So let me just read the quote, actually, because I think it states it better than I can sum it up. He said, initially, when you're excited to go to these places that you've seen so much of, like Fiji or Tahiti, so initially you're super excited to go to these places, but 90% of the time, you'd get to these sick places and then get crappy waves. You actually don't surf that much when you're on tour. You go somewhere like Bells for 2 weeks, and there's really only going to be waves for 3 or 4 days. Most of the time, you're just sitting there on the couch. And traveling can be tough. Not all the guys have big budgets. Not all of them can hire people to travel with them to help out. But when you're doing it by yourself with a tiny budget, it is not easy. On the QS, on the other hand, people seem to get better and better every season. On the CT, even the most dominant surfers tend to get worse. I would argue they plateau and then they get worse. But he goes on to say, there's probably a reason. As I said before, you actually don't surf that much. You don't spend that much time surfing on tour, and your level can deteriorate. It is not healthy for your surfing. Look at Caleb Robson. He fell off tour and he became a beast. Then he punched through the CS, no problem, and now he's back on tour.
Only to get worse again if the theory holds. Only to regress back off tour.
You really have, a limited window. It's probably in your mid to late 20s of hitting that zenith of athleticism and ability and aligning it with when you're peaking on tour, hoping that you get put in good waves.
Yeah, which I suppose, how were the waves last year? They were bad all year, right? There was like 3 good waves all year.
I don't even remember what we talked about last week on the podcast.
I just remember Yago's win, but I feel like, who knows? I have no idea.
That's also a problem for the WSL. It's so bloated that you don't even remember. Like at the end of the event, I don't remember the event itself, basically.
No. Okay, but again, back to Caio's point, I think interesting, but I would agree with you that they don't get worse on the CT, they plateau. The best ones plateau. Probably exactly like the Calums get actively worse to the point of falling right off tour.
I know. I only bring it up because I think it does illustrate an actual point for the WSL and their structure, because in all other sporting leagues and certainly, F1 racing and things like that, the competition on tour elevates one another. And so that is the pointy end of the sport and the endeavor is the professional championship tour. Surfing is the only one where you can point to other people doing it better than the champion tour level surfers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess a huge part of that would be just time in the water on good waves.
Exactly. Yeah. If you could dedicate, like certainly John Florence we can point to now as being that person, but Nathan Florence is another one. Clay Marzo is another one. There's Dane Reynolds for a lot of his career. If you are at the top of your athletic ability and the peak of your talent, and there's a way to make a living off tour, and your goal is to become the best surfer in the world, it would be a better use of your time to go surf the best waves in the world.
It really is strange. I know we've talked around this and we've probably talked specifically about this, but I don't think we have, that it's true. The best surfers in the world right now, as of this moment today, currently are not on tour.
You could say that last year for sure, because Gabriel Medina and John Florence and Felipe Toledo and Stephanie Gilmore were all off tour.
Yeah, I don't count Felipe in here in this conversation.
And Kelly Slater.
I don't count him anymore either.
Best small wave surfer in the world.
Best small wave surfer in the world was not on tour. Yeah, but that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. So the WSL, we've talked about this ad nauseum too, needs to be prioritizing the best waves in the world and putting the surfers in them.
Well, and I guess, so Natural Selection just finished up for anyone who saw it. And if you did not see it, you can go catch it, I think, on YouTube, and it's probably still on Red Bull TV. But phenomenal, right? Okay, so this was I think, was it 3rd or 4th year in Revelstoke, honey babe? 4th, whatever. So they've been at the same venue for 4 years now. Got epic snow. And the level had hockey sticked from like last year, right? People were going berserk. And next year it's going to get that much better again. You can just tell, like, people have this. So the format is great for it. And it's pushing, again, the whole entire tagline, I think, of Natural Selection is Mother Nature is the star, right? And so they orient around the entire thing around that. And now all of a sudden you're seeing wildly crazy performances that are so much better than last year. And I know this is new compared to the World Surf League, but it should theoretically be the same at the WSL. We should be seeing performances every year that, are blowing out performances from the previous year. And rarely do we get those kinds of performances, I feel.
Well,
it's because the waves don't deliver.
The waves don't deliver, and then the judges incentivize safety surfing. Because if you go massive and you don't land it, or you do land it and you don't ride out of it, you don't get even a score for the portion that you did land. It's either a make or a non-make,
That's the other thing about natural selection. Natural selection does not penalize falls. It doesn't hurt you.
Yeah.
it just doesn't help you, right? If you land it, it helps you. If you don't land it, it doesn't hurt you.
Right. So you see on the CT tour, surfers trying to just get a couple of sixes and sevens on the board. And then once they do that, maybe they go for a 10. But it really incentivizes safety surfing. And that's something that I saw from watching the Newcastle event. It was like in these clutch moments, each of these surfers was going for the gold. They were going for tens and they were actually landing them. Like it was kind of incredible at how well they performed with their back against the wall with qualification on the line. And I don't remember previous seasons, there was always maybe one person who could do that. But this season, it was like even the guys who didn't make the tour, like Levi Slauson, was doing that and landing it. So I think that's something that could be said about this rookie class is just their ability to perform in those clutch moments.
Do you think there will be any surprises coming up? Do you think we're going to see, or if you watched Newcastle, so was there anybody you thought, oh, this rookie could actually maybe potentially make some noise this year?
Yeah, a bunch of them. What the thing of it is, this isn't all their first time on tour. I think on the men's side of the 10 people who qualified, 6 or 7 of them have been on tour before. Like Morgan Siblick, Sammy Pupo, George Pitar, Caleb Robson, Liam O'Brien, Eli Hanneman, that's 6. They've all been on tour before. And then Kaiuli Vost and Mateus Hurdy have surfed in CT events as wildcards. The only 2 that haven't are Luke Thompson, 21 years old from South Africa, and Oscar Berry, Australian.
Okay.
So I do think that they will upset some things. Like I think Kaiuli Voss can win an event. I think that Mateus Hurdy can absolutely be a top 10 surfer. But I don't know if those would be surprises.
Did watching some Newcastle get you excited for this upcoming, just around the corner now, 2026 World Surf League Championship Tour?
No, I don't know that it got me super excited, or any more than I already would have been. But I've got a question for you. Sally Fitzgibbon returns on the women's side at the age of 35. She was on tour, of course, for 15 years. How do you think she'll fare? And then also, who will finish higher in the rankings, her or Anat Leilor?
I'm going to go with Sally Fitz, one spot above Anat Lindor.
And what spot would that be? Top 10?
How many spots are there on the women's side?
They just bumped it up to 24.
I'm going to say 22 Sally Fitz, 23 Anat.
Brutal.
I mean, I hate to do it, but like age really does come for all of us, right? 35, I suppose, is not that old, but especially Sally Fitz to me, and love, there's nothing against Sally Fitzgibbons, of course. How could anyone say an unkind word about Sally Fitzgibbons? But it feels like there was a generational shift on the women's side where obviously the Katie Simmers and it's a whole different level. So you're not going to crack there. And basically anyone of that generation, you're going to be below them. And then, you're also going to be below certainly, everyone else.
Well, the fact that she re-qualified makes me think that maybe she reinvented her game in some way. So I'm curious to see what that means or what that looks like.
I highly doubt that. Let's be you can't teach a new parrot old tricks.
I've got a listener line call that we can shift to slightly. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
All right, let's hear it.
Hey, for the grid, help me understand some economics of Southern California. I was out there maybe 10, a little more years ago, staying near Swami's at an Airbnb with my wife, and surfed a bunch, mostly Swami's, and then Cardiff. Met Joel Tudor, which is cool. Might have dropped in on him by accident because I'm from the East Coast and your waves break much further out and you can catch them more early, so that's cool. But, I was surfing Wednesday at noon and there's like 40 people out at Swami's. There's like 40 people everywhere, maybe more. How do people surf during the day like that and have a job and afford to live there? I mean, even back then, so expensive. People having lunches, middle of the day, just like nothing's happening, and I don't understand that. Make it make sense to me.
Expensive lunches in the middle of the day too, not cheap lunches.
I mean, man, no kidding, especially in Encinitas.
So do you have any thoughts on the economics of Southern California and why it looks like nobody's working?
I ponder this a lot myself too, because you can't just chalk it up to one thing, right? I mean, I think you can chalk it up in some cases. Okay, so we got the retirees, right? And then we have, and then we have the mobile workers. So we have that. And it must just be mobile working, because I sometimes think, well, all you people are just trust funders, right? Like you inherited mom and dad's, North County home. And so you can work very minimally, and this is all you want to do. Except then you go see them in the parking lot afterwards, and they're in Sprinter vans and all, they're in like expensive get-ups. So it's not like they're surf bumming. It's not like, oh, I got the house. That's all I need. I can just surf. Everybody seems like they're making money. So I wonder if California, Southern California in particular, and especially there, North County San Diegans, I will say, let's really get specific here, since this is what I know, really figured out COVID came, because it wasn't crowded at all before COVID. I mean, not that it wasn't crowded at all, but it was not crowded. It's exploded since COVID, and these aren't just COVID surfers. So I'm saying, long way of getting around to saying, I think that the enterprising North County surfer really became a master of work from home during COVID, and then forced their boss to keep that situation going. That, and or a bunch of them are in some kind of trade where they're like building expensive homes in Rancho Santa Fe, which allows them to proximity. So, they get the crew on the job, they go over at lunch, surf, hour and a half, and then pop back to the job site, something like that. I think it's a combo of that, mastery of work from home, and trades for super rich people.
That shines a little bit of a light, but when you go there and you see the throngs, like the sheer number of people pulling it off, it is hard to make it make sense. And when you see the home prices, it makes even less sense. Like, how are there that many people who can afford that expensive of home and do the daytime lunches and not work? When I was younger, and certainly pre-COVID, like I didn't make hardly any money, but I worked in restaurants, and you could find an apartment to live in fairly cheap. And it was like, okay, the cash from tips that you would make was enough to cover rent and surf in the middle of the day. Those economics has shifted too, because rent is so expensive.
Yeah.
So I've struggled to figure this out as well. But when he asked this question, I thought a little more deeply about it, and I had a little bit of an epiphany, which is if your hours are directly correlated to your earnings, then you're doing it wrong. Because the people that I've known in my life who earn the most money, they have never been the ones who worked the longest hours. And conversely, those who did work the longest hours earned the least money per hour. You know what I mean? So there's all these other variables at play when it comes to employment that you need to factor in, and you need to index for, and you need to start valuing in yourself, so that you're not just beholden to doing the 8 or 9 hour workday.
I hear you. And I suppose broadening this out a bit from and I've said this before on the podcast, anytime I drive, I mean, now this has just been such a reoccurring thought that I don't think it anymore, but it used to be, anytime I would drive through a large city and see skyscrapers, I would look at them and say, what are the people doing in there? What is the work happening? I don't know what work is anymore, full stop. What do people do, right? I know what I do, but what do people do?
It's a really mixed bag nowadays.
Yeah, it's like the normal, it used to seemed to me, like there was white collar job, and white collar job was business, whatever business is, and then there was bankers and, doctors, lawyers, all this stuff I understood. Then there was the blue collar, which I understood. Now it's like, what is the workplace?
I don't know what the workplace is, but when I was a kid, I thought that doctors spent time in the hospital, and I knew that they had super long shifts. And that still does exist, but the doctors who I've known who are the most successful doctors are also lecturing. So they're not in the hospital all the time. And then they're going to some specialty office that they work at just for 3 or 4 hours a week. And then they're publishing a paper. And then they're going to be the expert at a jury trial that they're getting paid $1,200 an hour for, from the company. So there's just, again, you need to think about your employment in a more dynamic way that allows you to diversify, because if you are beholden to a 9 to 5, that has very limited structure to its pay, and it's probably not the top end of the scale, And so I think in Southern California, for whatever reason, people have figured out how to be a little bit more dynamic with that and to not be chained to a desk, and they value the outdoors, And by the way, John, this is a perfect kind of way to fit in his YouTube series VELA that he's now publishing once a week. I think there's going to be 4 episodes. They just released episode 2. But it's like John, the highest paid surfer in the world for a period of time, has leveraged those earnings to buy this incredibly expensive sailboat to then enable an enviable lifestyle, because his priorities are still remaining, surfing the best waves in the world, spending quality time with his family, and progressing his surfing as well. And so he's remained focused on those things, and he's now doing it. And then by sharing it with all of us and getting us to buy his clothing, he's also going to continue to earn at that level too.
Do you think that everyone has the ability, hey, you just gotta, if you read enough, business guru books and think about it, differently enough and all this, you too can live this lifestyle where you're rich and you're never working? Or do you think some people it's inborn, they have the ability to see pattern or to do that kind of thing, but other people are just going to be stuck? Because I feel like I'm stuck in 9 to 5 land, or, it's more than 9 to 5. I guess it's, and I'm not complaining at all. I'm writing and podcasting. What could be better? But I just I don't know. I don't ever think, the business idea, go make big business and it's all working. Good business for me. I feel I don't have any skill set.
Right. No, I hear what you're saying. I think you're the opposite of 9 to 5 land, by the way. 9 to 5 land would be the person in that high-rise tower.
I mean, I didn't mean to be comparing that I'm slaving away here, at all. But I suppose I didn't mean 9 to 5. I just meant I have a 9 to 5 mentality. I feel like I don't see,
right.
Hey, there's this avenue here that you could go do great here. I don't know. I feel very business stupid.
I think, to answer your other question, it's being a creative free thinker and designing your own, lifestyle that you can earn a living off of certainly is not for everybody. But I think that the idea of working 9 to 5 for a corporate entity that will ensure a guaranteed paycheck and then have a pension after you retire was also an anomaly. That was like a social experiment that started in the 50s and it lasted until about 2008. And it's proven to not be a great fit for the vast majority of people. Not only did it not work out economically, but it also, people were unhealthy in that environment. They weren't actualized. They weren't living their best life. So I think we're in an era now where some of that structure exists and you can dabble in it or play in it if you want to earn a living that way. But you can also have an entirely different lifestyle or some version of both. Work a part-time job for them or work for them from home, kind of a thing. And so it's just, I think there's a mental awareness that you have to now adopt that you can write your own ticket.
I wonder if, though, we talked about, I think it was on Noble Rot. It sure was on Noble Rot. The hero, not of last week, maybe the week before, was Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein there in Europe, right? And you looked at Liechtensteinians and you think, man, what great lives you all have, right? And if only.
Yeah.
The reason, though, you can't do that is you're not Liechtensteinian, where I wonder if the same thing is happening in Southern California at this point. The cost of living has gotten so high that basically only rich people can live there. And then, so they're doing rich people things. They're taking long lunches and surfing whenever because they're rich, like at whatever level they are rich. And so that's just the way it is. So Southern California, or specifically kind of North County, San Diego, has become a Norway. I just heard today, daughter told me, Norway, do you know what the minimum wage in Norway is? For minimum wage. And I'm not hourly, yearly.
Are they in the euro?
No, I don't think, this is in dollars here.
Okay, I'm going to guess 23 US dollars.
Okay, what is yearly? Minimum.
Oh, yearly minimum 70,000.
You hit it on the head. $70,000 a year, and that's with all healthcare covered, I think all school covered. So if you are, I think, a barista, you're making $70,000 a year. That's minimum. And you look at that and you think, wow, why don't we do that here? Well, Norway has 8 people and a ton of oil reserves. But I think that Southern California has that thing going on. Not that there's natural resources. It's just so expensive now. So anyone who lives there is ergo rich.
Well, to tie this back to surfing, you'll notice on that qualifier list for the 2026 CT, there are no American surfers. And or on the men's side anyways, on the women's side, Alyssa Spencer from Encinitas, North County, San Diego, re-qualified for tour. But there is definitely something at play there. And it's just having, not having the grit, the drive to succeed, to climb out of whatever economic situation you're in, I think that's what we're seeing.
Too
soft.
Too soft on either way, and either not having the grit to get out of your economic situation, or being so comfortable in your hey, I'm traveling the world surfing already because grandma's rich. Why do I need to go grind out on the CT? It's not my dream going to be a competitive surfer. I get to live my dream just traveling and surfing by myself.
Absolutely, 100%. I know what I was doing. I was preparing for a podcast interview with a pioneer Hawaiian surfer named Paul Strau. He was on Duke Kahanamoku, had a surf team back in the day, like the early 60s. There was 4 surfers on it. Paul Strau was one of Duke's surfers. Invented the Cheater 5, all sorts of stuff. Anyways, he had taken a job. He went to college in Hawaii, got a job, moved to New York City for this job. So he moved from Hawaii to New York City as like a mid-20s. And he was talking about interacting with somebody in New York because it was such a foreign place to him. And they were like, hey man, you can earn as much money as you want here. Like, as much as you want to work, there's work available. As much as you want to earn, that potential is available. If you take your foot off the gas, that's on you, but it is here for the taking. Talking about gold rush times, right? And Paul goes, okay, well, cool. Like, to what end? Like, what do you do when you earn whatever the number is that you're trying to earn? What do you do then? And they go, I don't know, like when you retire, I guess? Is that what you mean? He goes, yeah, whenever. Like, when you stop doing this, what do you do next? He goes, I don't know, go to Hawaii? And Paul's just like, wait, why did I leave Hawaii? Like, I was already there doing that, like there's no need. Once you've got it figured out, you're living the lifestyle you want, quit chasing. That's it.
Did Paul run straight back to Hawaii after that?
He ended up in Southern California. So he found an in-between. because
Okay.
Southern California is the in between. There's economic opportunity and it's a great lifestyle, you know?
And there's waves.
Yeah. So I've got another listener call that actually kind of relates to this potentially. So,
Jazz, David, James in San Diego calling in for the grit. And that is with the pressing question with how do we fix Malibu? As you might know, we had a pumping swell here in Southern California last week, and I was flipping through the cams, and it was later confirmed with some YouTube videos popping up on my feed. Malibu is such a sweet wave when it's really on, just perfectly rippable, right point, but just infested with absolutely zero surf etiquette whatsoever. What do we do to fix this? How do we prevent this from happening with other waves? I need the help from our hero podcasters' work.
not an easy question to answer, but do you have any thoughts?
Yes, I do. I think what you would have to do, LA, Malibu, all of it loves a exclusive club, right? Soho houses, et cetera, et cetera. And I know there's Soho houses like minor now, and I don't know if anybody can get in, but I think basically anyone can get into Soho House. But I know there's other of these exclusive clubs. I think you'd have to start one at Malibu, where so you're going to need money, but that's no problem there, right? You get a local whatever Hollywood guy who surfs there, and he throws money in, whatever, easy getting money. So you start this club, and then you include. So people get in, they can pay, $10,000 a year to be part of the Malibu Surf Club. Or if you're one of the Brothers Marshall, or if you are, one of these guys, then you're in for free. And so you mix up this like super money with, and then you'd have enough people, I think, to actually start regulating the lineup, because it is so out of control that you would need a big block of people. And I think the rich people regulate it in a richy kind of way, and the core people regulate it in a corey kind of way, and I think that would sort Malibu out. So somebody needs to start the Malibu Surf Club, highly exclusive.
So I think that would work. The only problem is it's a non-starter for me to try to privatize the beach.
You don't privatize it. You're privatizing regulation. You're doing, because you can't just do it with the core local guy. You can't start hey, we are going to be Malibu Black Shorts, right? Because all the rich kooks are going to sue you right out of existence. So you need the rich people in there who speak the rich, who will be like, no, I'm suing you to the other drop-in, right? Because I think, and that's how, so I think that's how it would work, is this combination of upper class, gritty class coming together with the shared goal of making Malibu not just a full kook fest. It's not about privatizing it. Anybody can go out there. The problem is etiquette, right? So, and I think you would have as part of, the Malibu Surf Club charter is we're regulating bad behavior. We're not regulating just if you don't belong. If you're a good surfer, know your place in the lineup, paddle out there, weight are appropriate and rip, by all means. Waves are yours, right? We're doing this for you too.
That was a fastest, most thought out response you could have possibly provided to this to actually create a solution. I'm kind of surprised.
But it would work, right? Because you that's what you need. And everyone has the shared enemy is the unconscious surfer. And rich surfers are not the problem. Poor surfers aren't the problem. The problem is the unconscious surfer. So rich surfer, you put up the money. Rip or poor surfer, you provide the structure and all that. Off you all go. Malibu fixed. Just fixed it here.
You know what, though? The only glaring problem with your thing is even trying to create such a structure, there will be infighting. Nobody will be able to agree on even the goals that you just stated. There's going to be dissension in the ranks. It always happens.
Of course, it always happens, but that's why the goal, I feel, is simple. The goal is simply to bring etiquette back to Malibu, right? It's a simple goal. It's not this big, because I think if you, whatever, and of course, infighting is going to happen, but you take the infighting as long as the kook dropping in, because it's the kook dropping in with I don't care, right? That's the one that really, that's what Malibu has come to fully represent, is not the kook dropping in because he doesn't know, the kook dropping in because he knows and doesn't care. That thing needs to get washed away.
I agree on all of those things, but you took it a totally different direction than my brain did, because even just listening to the call, my thought was, do you have any desire at all to surf Malibu at this point? Because I don't.
Man, when it's good though, I don't. But
I abandoned the desire so long ago because it was overrun. And hearing him say that, where he's looking at the cams and he's feeling the draw to it, I'm like, dude, when I see the cams, because of the crowds, I have lost the draw entirely. But then you just presented something interesting. You said, but when it's good though. So I'm going to walk you through that scenario too, because I've gotten good waves at Malibu, and you know what? I've pretty much blew them. Or if I didn't fully blow it, I didn't surf them as well as I thought that I could have. And when I kick out, it's devastating. It's like you're kicking yourself and you just want another one. And so it highlights a more important principle at play here. And it's something that we all need to learn in this life, which is stop chasing perfection, because perfection is not the goal. You look at that Malibu wave and you're like, oh, that's what I want. You go out there and you get it. There's no way you're going to surf it to your level of ideal. And it's only ever frustrating. So start chasing mediocrity. Beauty is in the imperfection. For me, it's chest to head high, beach break that breaks close to shore and has some barreling sections, is mainly barreling. That's infinitely more fun for me. When I surf days like that, I eat it a bunch of times, I get a couple of lucky ones, and I never leave the water feeling like I could have done more. I leave the water feeling totally sated.
that is 100% true. I mean, I think the biggest proof of that pudding is the feeling, and I would love for a listener to prove me wrong, but the feeling you get leaving Surf Ranch is only one of vague depression. Like, I don't think anyone has ever left. And again, unless somebody doesn't know how to surf at all, but anybody who knows how to surf, caller, if you have left Surf Ranch thinking, yep, crushing it, then let me know, because I would say no, not one person ever has. You're only disappointed.
Well, to further illustrate my point, that's why there's so many kooks at Malibu, is because at a certain level in your surfing ability, you are chasing that goal. You want just a taste of that perfection, but at a certain level of proficiency, you're not there anymore. You're surfing one of the points, one of the coves north of that in the hidden communities, surfing it by yourself, you know, or you're going to trying to get a barrel at Zuma or something. But like, only the kooks are still in that mindset, thinking that they can level up, get a set wave, and surf it like Devin Howard.
Okay, quick question to you then. Let's just pretend we did the grit. We got the license for Malibu, and we closed it all down, and it was you, me, Devin, a couple other surfers out there. Good day at Malibu. Do you think you would still leave disappointed, or do you think that you would have a bunch of fun?
I would have a bunch of fun in that scenario.
Yeah, that's why I think if Malibu could get regulated, it's a fun wave. It really is a properly fun wave.
Well, it's a super fun wave. On the good waves that I've had out there, I did, let's say, 10 turns on a wave. One of them was almost good. You know,
yeah, sure.
The rest of them, it's like you're trying to do the turn that you want to do and you don't do it right. So you go into another bottom turn. You're like, okay, let me make the adjustment here. But the section's a little bit flatter or different, so you don't quite do it. And it's just like that constant tension of trying, again, thinking that you're a certain level and not quite living up to that level is kind of what the tension is. So it's a mind trap that comes with perfection. Whereas that punchy break scenario that I was talking about, you're not even in your head at all. You're just responding in the moment and making quick, instinctive decisions, you know? So, I just remember the other thing that can go along with this is I remember it was either Evan Slater or Taylor Knox talking about that first trip to Cloud 9 in the Philippines where it was perfect. And they got barreled so much that they got bored and they had to go find another wave nearby that they could do a turn on because they were tired of getting barreled after 3 days. So stop chasing it.
Madness. It's true. But I mean, to your point though, you are exactly right. There's been, a fun little pulse of surf down Cardiff by the Seaway. And I was like surf dogging it, but it was the surprise days. There was a day that I don't even think it was supposed to be that good or the tide was supposed to be wrong and got it. And it was nothing spectacular. It was shoulder high runners, right? But just taking off on them and just being like, this is the funnest thing ever. Because there was no expectation. And I also wasn't like thinking I'm going to rip the bag out of this wave, right? It was just like I was doing some fun turns on a surprising day and got out afterwards and just thought that literally is the best thing ever.
Totally. So to answer James from San Diego's call, if you have the organizational and leadership ability to do exactly what Chaz suggested, by all means, try to pull it off and then commit to the game and go spend all your energy doing that, or abandon the chasing of the perfection anyways, because beauty is in the imperfection.
How many people do you think you'd have to paddle out with at Malibu in order to get some good, for all of you to like rotate and get good waves? Like where you got a guy taking off far enough in front who's going to bash kooks off and then get out of the way. You got a guy like, or you got two guys doing that, I guess. 3. How many people would you need for the guy in the back to be getting a good wave at Malibu and not getting dropped in on?
There's no, I mean, 1 dozen and you still would get dropped in on. Alan Sarlo. There's very few people, and I don't surf there enough to know their names, but I know Alan Sarlo is one of them who can just go out in there and get whatever wave he wants, you know?
But he still gets
and
dropped
he probably
in on.
still, not very much. He looks like a linebacker coming down the line, and everybody knows who he is, so you'd be a fool to do it.
That's true. Man, that's our problem. What if we beefed up James in San Diego? That's another option. If you don't want to, I mean, we both met James before. James is a tall enough guy and a big enough guy, but he's not I don't look at James and say, man, I would be scared to meet James from San Diego in a dark alley late at night. So James,
he's no Alan Sarlo.
Put on some muscle, man. Put on a ton of muscle and then go try Malibu and then see how we go.
There you go. That's another decent strategy, actually. Okay. Do you want a pros in the wild?
Sure do.
I think we got time for this. Pros in the wild. Actually, that last segment, by the way, we should have branded as VELA or Tools to Live By.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Is it too late?
It was smart. Nope. Thank you, VELA. Thanks for making the time tick.
Thank you, VELA. VELAwatches.com/surfsplendor for beautiful American assembled waterproof guaranteed timepieces, good enough for the North Shore Lifeguards. I should say durable enough for the North Shore Lifeguard Association, and stylish enough to take out to a nice dinner with your wife. So, save 20%.
Which other risks they might soon be gracing? The Malibu Surf Club private rich people, poor people club wrists.
Well, they're based in Venice, so they are adjacent too.
Perfect. Go get it, VELA. VELA should
Venice adjacent. They should, absolutely. Okay, well, pros in the wild. Quote, I wonder how many of us have had similar thoughts about skateboarding. I've always had a skateboard. In fact, I'm a goofy foot because my big brother put me on a skateboard and pushed me down the driveway into the street at age 4 and didn't know how to straighten that out. It's unfortunate because I live in a land of right-hand point breaks. But then I became a surfer, mostly junior high age. And for a while, I was a surfer who skated a bit. I'd ollie up a curb or off some stairs, maybe do some curb grinds around my high school age. But then my friends became skaters while I became a surfer. The talent gap widened during my college years. One day, I was invited to skate with those now legit skaters. I was suddenly a full-on kook. They were sliding down stair railings, doing kickflips. They were miles ahead. I should just quit, I thought in my head. I'll never catch up. I'm a surfer who can ride a skateboard, but that's about it. I am definitely not a skater. About a dozen years ago, I was checking a local beach break. It was pretty flat and I had to drive around a bit to find waves. I was desperate for a surf. I found a little semi-glassy spot with only 2 guys out. I was watching them to assess the competition as I changed into my wetsuit. There really was only one peak, so I was going to have to share it with them. Some guy and some grom were seriously doing the craziest airs on every single wave, and it was only 2 feet. What the hell? I should just quit. That thought popped into my head once again, but this time about surfing. Oh no. Kids these days are too good. I'm old and busted. I'm going to look like a kook out there. I should just quit. It was like my skateboarding mentality all over again. But I ended up paddling out anyways. Oh, thank God I don't have to quit. It wasn't some randos at all. It was Dane Reynolds and he was with some grom that I later learned to be Eithan Osborne. No way I have to compare myself to possibly the best surfer on the planet at that point. I was relieved. That's the end of the story.
It's nice. That's a nice story. And even if it was a rando, though, comparing yourself to others in the lineup is really, truly a fool's errand.
You instinctively do it, though.
I know you do, but it's one of those emotions that pops up that you should just smash down. You should bury deep in your heart and let it fester into something else.
I agree. That is the story I think that I'm thinking, or that's the mentality that I'm thinking about with a lot of these stories today, which is if you can remove yourself from all the pretense and all the ego and all of it and just go out and enjoy the environment and just try to go straight, it's the most fun thing in the world.
You're going to be happy. You're going to be a smile on your face. Get a board that makes you go fast.
No
Going fast in a
expectations
surfboard.
whatsoever.
Low expect. But here's the problem, though.
Fast.
If we all have crap low expectations and do the bare minimum to make ourselves happy, we had this talk on Noble Rot, right? What would you rather be? Miserable and great or happy and nothing? And so I think there still has to be some little demon on your shoulder that's saying you're not good enough. Be better. Do better. Try harder.
I know, but the point, I think a lot of people who are chasing the greatness, it's to find happiness as well. And so back to the Paul Stroud being from Hawaii story is if you already have the happiness, maybe stop chasing.
Okay, but here we go. We talked on Noble Rot about Rene Redzepi, the famous chef from Noma who got let go because he, quote, punched, kicked, and slammed chefs during a period, whatever. Talked about that over there. You can go listen to Noble Rot. What if let's say Tom Curren. What if you were standing on the beach and Tom Curren came up to you and said, you know, his parrot's on the shoulder, and he said, you know, I'm magic. I can punch you in the face really hard right now and make you hate surfing, but you'll be surf as good as me. Would you take the punch?
Yes, absolutely. I would take that punch.
He's good at,
Do I get to surf like him forever or just one session?
You get to surf like Tom Curren forever, but you loathe it. Like waking up, the thought of going surfing is just like, you don't want to do it. But you're like, oh, I got a skill, I got a talent, I got to let it shine. So you put on, you're in the parking lot just miserable. You paddle out, bummed. You catch that first wave, just so smooth and stylish and beautiful. And you just pop out and there's no joy. Or would you rather surf like David Lee Scales?
Rather surf like me with the fleeting happiness that I feel.
I think I'm taking Tom Curren.
Well, look, the only reason I wanted to surf, or why I said yes initially and wanted to surf like Tom Curren, was so that I could put myself in positions on waves to feel really happy and do a really cool thing. But if I'm not going to feel happy if I don't get to feel happy coming out of the barrel, then no, I don't want it.
But you can, okay, remember though, like you just don't feel good surfing, but you end your miserable session, and there's like a crowd on the beach gathered to watch you, and everybody's like patting your back when you get out, and just, that was some of the best surfing we've ever seen. You get to feel that happiness.
That's the worst part of surfing. That is the eyes on you. Like the adulation, that's the worst part of celebrity. And then that's also the worst part of surfing, is all of the eyes on you with expectations. So I don't like any of it. And now I feel sympathy for Tom Curren. I feel bad for the guy.
Poor Tom Curren. Well, he's got his parrot running interference, so he's all good.
That's maybe what he's trying to seek with the parrot. He's trying to find happiness again.
But also, that's why Tom, I think in the stories that we all hear of Tom Curren in the wild, it's not like ever I was, out at Lower Trestles and I look over and wow, that's Tom Curren. It's always some rando surfing some rando place alone where Tom Curren comes paddling out of the mist.
First time I saw him was in the vast openness of Newport Beach between the last jetty and the Santa Ana River mouth.
Which is vast openness.
It was like, yeah, that vast openness between, it's like streets 62 to like whatever, 90 or something. You don't even know the street names because it's just the vast openness. It was just a random day in the middle of summer, middle of the day, knee high, waist high, not even a surf spot, just like random waves breaking. He paddled out, caught a few.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Tom Curren knows the secret. Maybe Tom Curren got punched in the face by a other greater Tom Curren back in the day and made that Faustian bargain, and so is now kind of miserable. So that's why he just has to go. And the miserable part for him is that he knows he made that bet. He knows he traded joy for adulation, and so he could just never surf around people again.
This makes sense. He always has the look on his face. He's a little bit dour.
He doesn't look happy. Tom Curren's not. He doesn't look like, look at that happy hippie over there. Nope, that ain't no Tom Curren. Not that he looks angry, but he does look like he made a Faustian bargain that he regrets.
I think we figured it out.
Yep. Boom.
All right, good.
Who knew?
Good work has been done today. All right, well, let's go to commercial break, and then we will be back with Barrel or Nah. All right, Chaz, welcome back from commercial.
So good.
This one's coming out of the latest headlines in the news this week. Barrel or Nah, fighting a TSA agent.
No, Barrel. I mean, if there's, okay, so I get it. TSA agents were especially, and are increasing, there can be jerks, right? They're gruff, they're all of this. But for some reason, I don't feel beef toward the TSA agent flexing his power as I do for cops and stuff like that, flexing theirs, right? I always think, man, TSA agent, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is what you have to be doing. I'm sorry that you're like, cops flexing their stuff. There's always real things they could be doing, theoretically, right? There's real crimes they can be solving instead of yelling at kids skateboarding or whatever, being nuisances. The TSA agent, sure, is trying to keep planes from getting hijacked and or blown up. It's an important job, right? But honestly, let's be quite frank. How many hijackers and plane blower uppers are there anymore, right? And so you're really there doing silly stuff. You're doing silly stuff all day, every day I can't imagine they get paid very much. And now they haven't been paid for a whole month. So
right.
I think always feel sorry for the TSA agent, even when getting abused by a TSA agent.
My opinion on a TSA agent in general has done a 180 in the last month. Like the airport, just as a system, you had to go through occasionally, and each cog in the system was annoying. And the bad reputation that they got was from somebody who now has a position of power in their life, who maybe hasn't before, and they don't earn a lot of money, and they're going to lord that power over you. So they kind of got this bad reputation. And I never had that experience with it, but I just saw them as like an authority figure that I'm going to have to submit to for a few moments. So there was that little tension. In the last month, I'm like, oh my God, the whole system and structure is going to fall apart. Please show up to work so that we don't miss our flights, you know? So now I am grateful and beholden and will be the kindest to every TSA agent that I've seen. But when I see the news story of somebody literally getting in a fist fight in Dallas with a TSA agent, I'm like, have you lost your mind? This is the last remaining staff. If they don't show up, they have to close the airport and then everybody misses their flights.
It's an
like, yeah,
awful
we
thing
are
to do.
offline. You have to be nice to this person right now, and they're not getting paid, and their kids need to eat, and they need to pay their rent. Like, what are you doing? And then you're not going to be able to fly for the next 10 years of your life because you punched a TSA agent.
Silly. And don't do it. Even if you had personally if you could punch TSA agents and still fly the next day, don't do it. Just poor TSA agents. But also, you know what they should really do, to be quite frank, and not to take TSA agent jobs away. I hope you all like your jobs and want to keep working, and I want you to keep working too. Go to work tomorrow, please. And thank you. Thank you all for your service. But what if the U.S. government just came out? What if, what's his name? Mark Wayne Mullen now is the new Christian Noem. What do you think about his name being Mark Wayne? That's all one word.
I didn't realize it was one word.
It's one word. It's MarkWayne, not W capitalized in the middle, not a space between them. His name is Mark Wayne.
Funny.
That's as dumb as it gets. But anyway, if Mark Wayne got on and said, you know what? We don't have any money. Flying public, we're shutting down TSA. There's going to be no more, or we'll have cameras or whatever, x-rays for the bags going under the plane. And we'll have one, I guess for the carry-on too. Otherwise, everyone flying is deputized to be, you're the agent. So look at your fellow passenger, be wary of them. If you see anyone going for their bag, get ready to jump. You guys are all in, you keep yourself safe here. If your plane goes down, there's only one person to blame, you. How great would that be? Problem solved, I feel.
Well, it actually sounds like you just applied your Malibu strategy to TSA.
Exactly. I'm going to write it's going to be, finally, I'm going to be rich too. I'm going to write the Malibu effect, how we can all just deputize each other to solve problems.
Good. I bet societies have actually tried that before, so you might want to look into it.
Either
as a blueprint or a cautionary tale.
But when things are going sideways and you're looking around at your fellow man and you're joined in a way that you typically aren't, where I feel like that feeling of we're all in this together, right? Like even in like silly whatever, your flight gets canceled and every flight gets canceled and you're in the airport and it's a mess and there's a level of panic there. Some people panicking, but you can always find the core group in there who's getting her done, right? Of like, okay, let's team up here. Let's figure out how to get a shuttle, how to get to the hotel. Well, like typically people on the same flight, I feel. There'll be a core nut that are deputized to get her done. I want everyone to have that attitude.
Okay. I like it. You might be able to implement this next week if this TSA thing keeps going on. Barrel or nah, giving a paternity wildcard to male surfers.
I'm going to say no barrel at all. It's a very funny concept, I feel, but I am sorry, male surfer, you don't get to take time off or take the time off and skip a contest.
This is, of course, the title of your recent Beach Grid story, quote, World Sexist League trends after championship tour refuses to offer paternity wildcards for the bros. Did anybody actually advocate for one?
No, for some reason I read somebody sent me the maternity thing, and I have no idea why that was my first thought. Oh, I think it's just because of the culture we live in. I thought this is an unmitigated good thing, right? Of course that if you're on tour and you get pregnant, and let's just be quite frank about what the tour is. It's not like these rules are hard and fast. They gave Kelly Slater as many wild cards as he wanted to. So it's like wild cards. It's a Wild West in wild card land anyway. Let's do a good one. You get pregnant on tour, your spot is safe for you next year, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
Do you find anything wrong with that?
Oh, I have no problem with it at all. I'm just trying to think of an argument for the male side, because I do see value, obviously, in like paternity leave for fathers in a traditional job environment, like getting to spend quality time with a newborn that males just didn't have the opportunity to do before. There's no way to measure the benefit of that. That's a great thing. So I'm wondering if a Leonardo Fioravante's new wife gets pregnant this year, and during her pregnancy, he advocates for it. He's like, hey, next year she's going to have the baby, so I want to take next year off. Can I get a free year off? I bet the WSL would take it into consideration.
Well, I mean, that's what I was thinking. So I thought, again, back to the maternity thing, I thought this is just great. But I said, who's going to have a problem with it? There's going to be somebody who has a problem with this, because somebody's got to have a problem with everything today, right? And so then I was thinking it's going to get called sexist because they're not offering it to dudes. But you're right. If they did extend it to dudes, I guess I'm switching. I'm going barrel. I'd say, great. This feels like the World Surf League then is becoming more like Scandinavia.
Exactly. But I
want a
don't
Scandinavian
think
World Surf League. World Scandinavian League.
I can't imagine any male surfer in his prime would actually take that trade.
You know, the best thing that we could do then is passive aggressively shame them for being bad. I guess that's cool. No, that's really cool. Like, a lot of dudes like their jobs better than their families. I'm not saying nothing about it. Yeah, no, a lot of dads they're great providers. Look, hey, you're just not built to be a good dad, but you're a good provider. Just passively aggressively shaming everyone who decided to stay on tour would be very fun.
And then follow up with, wait a second, you're actually not that great of a provider. You don't have a main sponsor, and you finished 22nd in the world last year.
Yeah, I guess you just really like to surf. Hey, it's also, world needs selfish people.
Also, I would like to know, does the WSL provide any sort of pay, paternity or maternity leave pay?
Absolutely not, which makes it, I guess, sort of funny. And I'll say, I didn't see this flex from them. I didn't see WSL putting out this big press release. I actually saw AJ Burnett. What's her name? AJ Brown. AJ
McCord.
AJ McCord. Somebody sent me AJ McCord's. McCord or T?
D.
T. Somebody sent me AJ McCord Instagram. So she was making a big deal about it. But WSL wasn't. But the fact that if they're just saying, yeah, there's no pay, there's no, childcare, there's no nothing. It's just, yep, you get your job when you come back. We're not going to fire you for getting pregnant.
Right. Okay, final barrel or nah. Buying a pop-out stand-up paddleboard. I know what you guys will say about stand-up paddleboards in general, but hear me out. I live near a bay, and the nearby ocean is often flat. I want a SUP in the bay for exercise and to be out in the sun on the water. I definitely don't need it to be one of the racing ones, or there's no reason to go technical or buy a fancy high-end version. The pop-out ones are cheap, readily available, and they ship tomorrow. Do I dare do it? Convenience says yes, but my conscience says no, despite not having a solid reason not to. And again, I'll do this privately. No one will ever know, except you guys.
Your conscience shouldn't be telling you no either. Your conscience should be saying, hopefully, I'm putting a SUP shaper out of business right now. Hopefully, there's one less SUP shaper in the world.
Wow. Hot take.
Yep. If you can put all the SUP shapers out of business and all there is pop-ups, I feel that if it's true, I'm no supper, but I'm going to imagine that supping a hand-shaped SUP is infinitely better than supping a pop-out, right?
Yeah, I think you're saying surfing one of them. So you're talking about a surf SUP.
Sure, that's what I'm talking about. But
a hand-shaped one. From what I understand, Bob Pearson at Aero Surfboards up in Santa Cruz is the guy. He makes incredible surf SUPs.
Okay, so what I'm saying is let's put Pearson out of business. On the SUP side, he can still shape boards again. Bob, leave the SUPs alone. So if there's only, and I know this guy's not surfing it, he's only baying it. But if there's only pop-outs available for the entire population to buy, those who want to surf, they're going to take their SUP pop-out, and it's not going to feel as fun. And hopefully we have some die-off. If we have SUP die-off, I don't know how there's anything wrong with that. So buy the pop-out.
Okay, I like it. I stand behind this. That sounds fair to me.
Yeah.
So you're gonna keep pop-outs in business, which is kind of a unintended consequence, but you're overall going to take the market down a notch.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. Look at you.
I mean,
you're creating kind of long-term strategic solutions to problems today.
I feel like this one I have extra angst because there hasn't been for a long time, right? I feel the SUP felt he was uninvited to the lineup. There is the break where enough of like Cardiff Reef, I feel they feel like they can go out there, right? And so whatever. But they haven't gone much where I go, but they are starting to come, right? First came the longboarders and I didn't say anything. And then came the suppers, right? And I'm just like staring at them. But I'm like, longboarders, you should be staring at these guys too. Like, stop this now. We don't want these guys here. It's not good.
Yeah, I know. It's anything goes nowadays. You're not even allowed to vilify them.
No, I mean, I glare as hard as I can. I sit in the water, sunk up to my lower chest, just glaring, just staring at them on their dumbass SUPs. I hate SUPs.
All right. Uncouth, man. Not cool to be angry at somebody because of what they're doing.
Nope. I'm taking all my former anger at the TSA agent and ladling it onto the SUP.
All right. Well, good work this week. Chaz Smith, anything else to report, or will I see you on Noble Rot on Monday?
See you on Noble Rot. Maybe on Tuesday, if you can do Tuesday again. I'll be traveling Monday.
Tuesday work.
Great Pacific Northwest.
Tuesday works fantastic. All right. Until Tuesday on Noble Rot, have a great weekend.
Keep work.